Edition of Sports Sunday, and for this video we're going to be talking about part 2 of our World of Champions in the world of sports. And over this past week there's a lot going on, such as the NBA Finals with Game 2 being tonight starting at 8:10 p.m. time, where the Warriors will be visiting the Raptors, and Raptors winning Game 1, so they'll be looking to take a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals, or the Warriors may even up the series at 1 game apiece. We also had the U20 World Cup, where the round of 16 started today, and we also had action both the PGA and the LPGA, where it was the final day of the Memorial Open for the PGA, and also for the U.S. Women's Open. It's going to be in the LPGA, and that was the final day for that today. And we also had the Champions League final, which was yesterday, where it was Liverpool taking on Spurs. And then we also have the French Open going on right now, and also the Women's World Cup, which will be starting on Friday. So I know there's a lot to unpack and a lot to get to. So first, let's just get started with Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Compared to Game 1, I see more points being scored by both the Warriors and Raptors. Obviously, the Raptors, with their defense, shut down Steph Curry. But I think from Game 1, they're going to learn for what their mistakes were in Game 1. And we'll be able to score more points as a result from that as well. Now, the sooner Kevin Durant and DeMarcus Cousins or Boogie Cousins comes back, the better it'll be for the Warriors' chances to win the series. Now, without KD and Boogie actually playing for the Warriors, if they're not healthy enough to, then the Raptors' chances, like we said before in our prediction, they're actually got a lot better than previously thought. Our prediction was based on that KD and Boogie would both be healthy enough to play earlier in the series rather than having to wait. But again, we'll wait and see what happens with that. So Game 2 should be exciting, and will be more points even scored. So I see a much closer game than what we saw in Game 1. Probably see the Warriors probably end up, I would see them actually winning by 1 possession for this game. Even though the Raptors, I think, will be in control for a large part of the game, I think the Warriors will eventually, in the latter part of the game, heading towards the fourth quarter, and into the fourth quarter, they'll take control of the game and take the lead and actually win Game 2 and head back to Oakland for Game 3, 1 series tie. That being said, the U20 World Cup, the round of 16, got underway, and for the first 2 matches that were played today, Italy was able to win on a penalty goal, so they won 1-0 over the host nation, Poland. So they will be moving on to the quarterfinals. They have yet to know who they're going to be playing in the quarterfinals, but there's still 6 matches left to go in the quarterfinals, or I should say the round of 16, with 3 matches happening tomorrow, and also 3 matches happening on Tuesday. The second match today was Colombia winning on PKs 5-4 over New Zealand. And kind of surprised me that New Zealand ended up losing in this fashion. They looked a lot stronger in group play. Even though against Uruguay, they ended up losing that game as well too. But New Zealand still overall was more impressive than I thought for their World Cup performance, and should still take away for at least they were able to at least hold their heads up high too, and at least gave a valiant effort, even though they fell short against Colombia. But you know, there's hopefully they can learn from that and going forward. Now against Italy as well too, the penalty that you saw as well too. A little surprised that they called that as well too, even though it ended up being the only goal in the game. I was kind of surprised the refs called that, especially with the host nation that we were playing. But they were able to capitalize on that and end up being the only goal they scored in the game. And then with that, they obviously won, and they're going to move on. And it was even more shocking that Poland in their group, in Group A, they finished in 3rd place, and they were able to still get a spot as a result. But unfortunately for the host nation, this is where their World Cup was going to end. That being said, for tomorrow's matches, you have Uruguay taking on Ecuador, the Ukraine also taking on Panama, and also Senegal taking on Nigeria. And with Tuesday, France will be taking on the U.S., and Japan will be taking on South Korea or the Republic of Korea, whichever title you would prefer, and Argentina taking on Mali. So that will end up being the round of 16. And of course, in the next edition of Sports Sunday, we'll go over the round of 16 and 2 of our thoughts on that as well. So far, some impressive matches overall too. Obviously, the Norway 12-0 win over Honduras is still probably the one that still sticks in most people's mind. Kid actually getting a hat trick of goals too, scoring 9 goals in that game too, is still something that's still on my mind too, which is still probably something you'll probably never see again in a lifetime, for one player scoring 9 goals in a match, which is still crazy. And even though Norway wasn't able to get onto the knockout station, they weren't able to get past group play. I still think they still have that at least favorable memory that they have from Poland in the U20 World Cup. But so there's going to be a lot of action on round 16 coming up this week, and we will give our thoughts on the highlights of that in our next Sports Sunday. That being said, we also have the Women's World Cup that's going to be starting this Friday. And for Friday, there'll just be the first match, just being the host nation, France. They will actually be taking on the Republic of Korea, and that will be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in France, it'll be starting at 9 p.m. there. And then on Saturday, with Germany taking on China, Spain taking on South Africa, and Norway taking on Nigeria. And then for Sunday, which we'll talk about for next week, it'll be Australia taking on Italy, Brazil taking on Jamaica, and England taking on Scotland. So now for this, the Women's World Cup, we were going to give our prediction as to who we thought was going to end up winning this World Cup, who's going to end up taking a overall championship for the World Cup. So really our predictions are, this is kind of tough for me too, just because there were a lot of good teams in the World Cup here, and it was hard to decide between them. I wanted to go, not with France, but I wanted to go with Germany, but overall, just like looking at their group here, and just overall, I don't know if they're going to be able to really just have a strong enough performance where they'll get out of group play, but I don't think in the knockout stages, I think they'll eventually be worn down. But for me, what I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to say it's going to be a final between the U.S. and Brazil. That's who I think is going to end up being in the finals for the Women's World Cup. So that's at least our final right there. As for our third place team, who we think is going to end up being in third place, we actually going to say it's going to actually, I'm going to say right here too, I'm actually going to go with China on this one too, just because just the history between U.S. and China and the Women's World Cup. I think this year too, they're going to end up playing a lot better than most people think. So it's going to be the Brazil, U.S., and China in the top three. As for the U.S. and Brazil, for that, I still say that the U.S. will probably end up losing to Brazil in the final. So I'm actually going to go with Brazil for the winner for the Women's World Cup. Not to take anything away from the U.S. team, because I know they've won 3 World Cups, and they won in the last World Cup, which was hosted in Canada in 2015. But I think this year, I think somebody else is going to lift the trophy, and it's going to be Brazil for this year. But that's going to be because I'm going to be starting Friday, so we'll find out at least the first games in group play. We'll see how it turns out. It should be a great World Cup too. It should be a lot of fun to watch, and we'll see what happens. And of course, for next week, we'll go over at least the first few matches, highlights of that too, and then our thoughts for the matches on next Sunday. So with that being said too, we have the UEFA Champions Final, where we had Spurs losing to Liverpool 2-0, and obviously the big the referee calling a penalty in the box, giving a PK to Salah. It was happening in the first minute, and then after Salah scored that PK, which ended up actually being in the second minute, then even though the penalty occurred in the first minute, but with getting the PK set up, it was the second minute where he scored. That changed the whole dynamic of the game too, because Liverpool played back and they were a lot less aggressive, and the Spurs were probably, especially with Harry Kane too not being at, I don't think it was at 100% too, he was kind of being in a position too where he couldn't ease more into the match. He ended up having to have a higher level of expectation, higher level of aggressive play that he had to be able to take on. And even though being down 1-0 for most of the match too, until Origi scored a late second half goal to end up being a 2-0 overall, the final result. But it was just a much different dynamic. I'm sure the Spurs probably weren't expecting a penalty to be called in the box too, even though I didn't think that should have been called. It was for that handball too, if I saw it right there too, I probably wouldn't have called it in the first minute. You could probably argue that defender's arm was not in a natural position, but like for that one too, like right in the first minute too, it's just, I mean, that would have been hard for me to actually call that. But they didn't go to VAR too because there wasn't enough clear evidence to be able to overturn it, because at a closer look too, you could at least make the argument it was a handball, but in the first minute I wouldn't have called that. But with that too, that changed the whole dynamic of the game. And then Liverpool playing less aggressive, they held back somewhat more too. I was surprised Son for Spurs wasn't even more aggressive than he was. But overall, I think Harry Kane too, just it was a lot more to expect from him from his first match coming back. I think it was like in 2 months. So it was a little tougher for him to actually get going, especially being down 1-0. So it was a bit of a different dynamic there too. I think it was like one of the biggest factors in contributing to the Spurs losing to Liverpool 2-0. Most of the game too, I just think it was somewhat uneventful. I expected a lot more too, considering how both teams got to the final in the first place, how the Spurs got past Ajax, and also how Liverpool got past Barcelona, the 2 miracles that happened on both sides. But it was somewhat an underwhelming final overall too, but still, congrats to Liverpool. They ended up winning Champions League for this year, so we'll see what happens for next year for that. Now, as for the Women's U.S. Open, Jeonjun Lee 6 from Republic of Korea major, and with that took home a $1 million check, so congratulations to her. Overall, in the final round too, she didn't lead for most of the tournament, but when she took the lead on to be able to try to at least force a 2-hole aggregate playoff. But she just kind of just gave that up too with the double bogey, but which was kind of sad. But Jeonjun Lee 6 just overall too just played very well in the final round too. And even though Lexi Thompson wasn't able to just stay with the main pack of the leaderboard, she eventually fell back. She wasn't able to recover, especially not being able to putt as well as she probably should, or should say could have. But overall, it was just it was a good tournament on the final day to watch, and it was great for her to Jeonjun Lee 6 to win her first ever major. So it was just probably a very emotional day for her, to say the least, too. So overall, it's like she played very well too, and throughout most of the tournament too, she kept her composure, and she was able to perform and be able to come through when it was happening the most. Even though there were a couple bogeys at the end too, she still built up a comfortable enough lead to win. So congratulations to her. And also with the Memorial Open, Patrick Cantlay had an 8-under round, round for his final round. It's the lowest ever round ever in history for the championship for the Memorial Open. So with that, he was able to pass Martin Keimer, who ended up in the back half, or say the back 9 for his final round. He just ended up basically imploding and wasn't able to hold on to his lead. And I know he used to be number 1 in the world too, and now he's like just barely in the top 200 in the world. So he's been having in a bit of a slump too, and it kind of showed today. And he wasn't able to really just keep the same composure what got him to the lead initially. And Patrick Cantlay just was just on fire. He was on point with his shots to the green, and then with those it makes it a lot easier to putt. So with that too, and it was just very tough to beat an 8-under round as well too. He was able to end up winning and taking home the win as well too. For the U.S. Men's Open coming up at Pebble Beach, it'll be interesting to see how Tiger played because Tiger had a pretty good overall final round. But again, we'll see how they play in the next. It'll be starting, I believe, it will be starting on June 13th. I want to say June 13th will be a Thursday. It'll be the first day of the U.S. Men's Open. So we'll see what happens there as well too. So again, some champions already current have already been decided, and we have some champions in the future to be decided, and we will bring you our analysis on that as well too in our next Sports Sunday coming up. That being said, thank you to everybody for watching this edition of Sports Sunday. We hope you can join us live 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll let everybody know which game we'll be streaming on our Twitter at VerdictSquadNow. We will put all of our social media account links into the description below too, and also part 1 of World of Champions 2 will be in the top right corner of the screen, so everybody can be caught up on our World of Champions analysis as well too for Sports Sunday. And again, thank you to everybody for watching. We hope we can see you guys live at 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll let you guys know what we'll be streaming on our Twitter at VerdictSquadNow. We hope we can see you guys later on tonight.